Our tournament circuit for Blox Fruits is getting bigger and better every single day. Remember, this isn't just a single tournament. We're talking about a circuit, meaning multiple tournaments in each region with the goal of inviting the strongest opponents to fight on a grand stage. Each tournament is going to have prizes like Perm Fruits and Robux, but so is each video. So make sure you leave a comment to get entered to win this video's Perm Fruit giveaway. But remember, the only reason we're doing this is because we know in our heart of hearts that there's potential to cultivate real fighting game talent in the scene. But in order to do that, we need to level up from 2.5 million bounty. If you watched our first video, you know that we're fighting game professionals. And so if we want this tournament to be taken seriously, we need to make sure that our skills match that of the top talent. So in order for us to climb from 2.5 million bounty all the way up to 30 million bounty and beat some of the best players in Blox Fruits, I knew we had to take the same habits we took from the fighting game community that got us to become some of the best, and that's 1v1s. Grind different matchups, learn habits, learn openers, and basically learn frame data. The nerd shit. And look, I know you might think this is nerd shit. At the end of the day, we'll do whatever it takes to become the best. And it worked for us in multiverses, so it should work in this game, right? So I'm gonna break down 3 examples of 1v1 fights so you can see exactly what I'm thinking in real time. And I'll point out exactly what we look for so you could take home these techniques and do it yourself. Fight number 1. The first thing you like to do whenever we're sizing up an opponent is figure out what type of openers they have. There's a lot of different openers they have. It's heavily dependent on the different weapons they're using, the different fruits. So in this specific case, we have a Buddha user, Josh. He's using Soul Guitar, God Human, and CDK. So we know the opener's pretty standard. Technically, either of the CDK moves could be used, but with Soul Guitar, it's too powerful to throw CDK out for no reason. God Human C is another good opener as well too, and you can use God Human X to poke, but not really necessary. So going into the fight, I'm mindful of all of these options, and I'm gonna see if I could play around those. Opening up with Soul Guitar Z, very standard. So I kind of counter that or meet that with my Dragon Trident Z above that to kind of obscure his view. He might have hockey on, he might not, but I like to do this at the beginning because that gives me an option to maybe hide behind the pixels in the screen to see if I can get in front of him and get into an advantageous position. So he immediately burns his CDKZ, which means I know X is coming up afterwards. There's not really too much I could do to avoid that because if I try to hockey now, it's technically going to break it. So there's no point in me doing that. So I go ahead and let him hit me with this, prepare for the follow-up combo, but he doesn't hit me with that. So now that I know that he's burnt these 2 moves, I can go ahead and turn my hockey on because really the only thing he could break it with is going to be God Human C, God Human X, or Soul Guitar X. I charge God Human C and it hits. Now, if I'm able to angle this correctly, I can do my bread and butter combo, and it turns out that I can. Now, big shout out to Gilfy on YouTube. Goated Portal user, 30 million bounty, uses Portal V, so he loses a couple points for that, but incredible content. Check him out if you haven't. He had a combo where he did God Human C and tried to combo it into God Human Z. And one of the most reliable ways is to do God Human C, Portal F, then God Human Z. And I've kind of tweaked this to make it my own combo. God Human C into Portal F ahead of the opponent, and then do Dragon Trident X straight down. It catches him in the vacuum. Bread and butter combo, and that shot at the end, it was goated. That sealed the deal. So some of the main takeaways I took from this fight, pay attention to what weapon your opponent has out. Another thing, just make sure you know their loadout. You know what's possible. And then from there, you can kind of keep track of the abilities and the cooldowns. Knowing the numbers, knowing what options your opponents have are going to take you from noob to pro. That's just it. Easy. Okay, so Josh switched it up this time, and he's going Chop Fruit. Chop Fruit's going to make things a little bit more difficult. If you look at that last combo, it's not going to work. If I try to catch him in the Dragon Trident moves, Chop doesn't take any damage from any sword moves, any sword M1s, nothing. So I have to get crafty and come up with a different combo. So we start things off, and he gets really aggressive with Soul Guitar X, but for some reason he doesn't follow up on that. So from there, I'm gonna see if I could turn the tables and get more aggressive because he basically won the neutral exchange and was in advantage and stepped out of advantage, and now we're back to neutral. A couple poking exchanges here, I see him switch to God Human, and from here I know he already popped his X, I know he already popped his Z, so it's gotta be God Human C. It's important to know your cooldown management. So as soon as I see him switching to God Human, I get my portal ready to try to evade his move. And in this case, I instead reacted with Portal X and got a really strong punish against him. I made the mistake of letting him reset neutral, but thankfully he panicked CDKZ's up into the sky. And so his God Human moves are going to start coming off cooldown right now, so I need to be cognizant of that. I start to get a little desperate, especially with him being as low as he is, and I go for some really bad options. You know, I'm going for things that aren't going to hit, but I know he's desperate too. He's super low life. He's trying to get away, and there's not a lot of options that he has unless he catches me in his own combo. And in the end, I just need to hit something. That's it. And we do. This scope was fun. I had a really cool reaction, Portal X, but I need a follow-up. This was one of the fights that kind of taught me that if I have Portal Z available, what options do I have? I need to adapt. I can't just sit here and use the same God-Human C combo every single time. So check out this fight against Prismian, a very strong ice main. Don't underestimate him based off the bounty. This man has taken multiple 30 millions. Now, just like the other fights, let's break down this matchup. We're dealing with an ice main who uses God-Human, Spikey Trident, and Soul Guitar. We know what openers they have. Ice main, a lot of super strong openers. Ice V is a big one. They do flash step to Ice V a lot. 25-second cooldown, so it has a long cooldown, but high risk, high reward. Here's some tips for beating Ice V. Remember, when Ice V is used, they can't dash or use any moves for 2 seconds, so you can take advantage of that. Remember, if you walk into Ice V while the ice is still on the ground, it can still stun you, even if you jump above it. The range is fairly vertical, but not as high as the highest spikes, so be aware that you can maneuver at a certain height. Even if you God-Human C the Ice main, you'll still get frozen depending on the timing, so just be aware of that. Remember, Flash Step to Ice V is something they're always going to want to use, so if you can bait your opponent or encourage them to use it while you have your movement options available, like Portal M1 or Flame F or Flash Step, that's the way to do it, because once it's on cooldown, then you can take advantage and punish. If they miss, you have a few counters. One is God-Human X into God-Human Z, or just hit them with anything ranged. No need to get in super close if you don't have to. And then finally, you can catch them with God-Human Z if you aim it right, but it's not ideal. You don't have to punish. Remember, it's 25 seconds for cooldown. Next move is Ice C as well too, the dragon that shoots out that can stun, not for as long, shorter cooldown, 16 seconds. And then of course Ice X, more of a poking tool, but still something we have to be aware of. God-Human C, technically God-Human X could be used to poke. Spiky Trident, either option can be used, but we want to keep an eye out for the pool. And then of course Soul Guitar, we got to make sure we don't get hit with that X. We immediately start off, I do my bread and butter Dragon Trident to try to see if I can mask myself, but he God-Human Cs. I unfortunately thought it was going to hit him and it doesn't. But this is fucking goated. I press E exactly as he uses his Spiky Trident move. I still pop Cyborg V3 just in case, because if my timing was off even just a little bit, then I would have possibly died. But it was a beautiful escape. So we switch back to neutral. He has the high ground, but I have all of my cooldowns, and he has God-Human C and his Spiky Trident moves gone. I hit him with my God-Human C, try to get the in-air combo. That bread and butter doesn't work. But now we have Ice V. Whenever he pops Ice V, that has one of the longest cooldowns of any of the ice, of really any of the moves in the game. And it's important to be cognizant of that. I know this in my mind if Ice V is down, so now I can play a little bit more aggressive. Now I can stay in his range. He doesn't have that AoE pressure or that aerial flash step Ice V pressure that he normally has. I hit him with God-Human X, and he literally returns to his peak. He has to go back to the heavens. I have no idea what happened there. That's just some jank of Blox Fruits. I use Portal F to get near him instead of my Flash Step. I want to see if I can save my Flash Step for later. And I hit him with my new bread and butter, Portal X into Portal Z, into Acidum Rifle or Sidum Rifle, Z and X, into God-Human Z, right into God-Human X.
How did you? I went from like 1900 to 0.
And we get the kill. This fight was incredible. One of my favorite things about this fight was the perfect use of Kentrick. In a PvP situation, you have to know when to Kentrick what move. And then of course, just having mastery of your combos, cooldown management. So many lessons learned from this fight specifically. That was a lot of content in one video. Next video in this series, we'll tackle a Rumble user and review an unfamiliar matchup against a 14 million bounty player. If you like the video, or even if you'd prefer some different Blox Fruits content, let us know in the comments below. Just like in the last video, we're doing a Perm Fruit giveaway, so leave a comment and you're entered to win.